We are so happy to have this chingona guerrera, not gonna lie, Sarah Yvonne, joining La Madrastra podcast. Sarah, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, un poquito frío. It's snowing right now in my hood, in my new hood. But yeah, I'm good. I'm ready. I'm excited.
The reason, Sarah, why I asked for you to join us is because you are a very strong advocate, amazing advocate for the endo community. And one of the things that I've come to see is that endometriosis is something that could be very common, but not enough is being said about it. And so that's really why I wanted to ask you if you could share a little bit of wisdom, what you know, your expertise, and just your firsthand experience about endo with our listeners. But before we get to the 101, the endo 101 section, I did want to ask you, talk to us a little bit about growing up as a Chicana, your childhood experience, and really how that contributed to you being such a strong advocate for the endo community today.
Well, first of all, before I start, I just want to thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of the conversation. I love what you've created from a friend perspective, but just from a fellow Chicana perspective. Like, it's beautiful that you are creating space to have these types of conversations. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. Oh, whew, childhood, girl. Let me get my baggage and put it on the table. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Bag
Wow.
lady.
Seriously, girl, I got a whole ass suitcase. Got a closet. No, pero like I grew up second gen. I'm not first gen. My parents, I think, were the ones that really, and my grandparents as well, I think they're the ones that really endured a lot of the burden of the change and transition in coming to live in the United States and trying to assimilate to what felt comfortable, what felt safe, what felt like would give them the best opportunities. And so for me, I kind of lived this dual life where it was this is the American way, but then this is our cultura at home with our foods, with our music, with our customs. With our family, the way we celebrated things. I am one of three out of my parents who are divorced, but I am the oldest girl. And on my mom's side, I'm like the oldest female grandchild. And so I had a lot of that weight where it was like, um, be strong, set an example, help your mama, help your papa, like help your siblings. I have a younger sister, so it was a lot of caregiving for her, especially when my parents went through a divorce.
Mhm.
So that was kind of very similar to what a lot of us, face in trying to find yourself, but still be the picture perfect, girl helping your family, representing. In my household, it was don't speak Spanish because to be American and to be, accepted, you need to have perfect English.
Mhm.
So I was a no sabo kid. Like I understood everything, but really like struggled because I also danced ballet folclorico. So it was like I knew the music, I knew the language, but it was more like, but to get ahead me, how you have to write perfectly in English and do, all those things.
Mhm.
So was it different? Um, a different type of struggle, but all still under the same umbrella of trying to assimilate. And, I think being so close to Mexico, like living in California and growing up around so many people who, looked like me and were Chicanos, it felt comfortable, but it also felt so strange at the same time. So I think how did that shape me? Well, it made me really strong, and having to find my identity, find my
Mhm.
voice and push, not just for myself, but always for others, right? Because
Yeah.
naturally I had to be like a leader and a caregiver always.
Yeah. And you sure are. You sure have those qualities, and ever since I've been knowing you, even when I met you, you were like, "Hey, you would really like this. Come join us." No, just very, very
Facts, yeah.
outgoing. Definitely somebody that's like inclusive and very like caregiving kind of qualities. One of the things that I described you as was a guerrera. And I
Mm.
think once you share a little bit about what endometriosis is, our listeners will be like, "Oh yeah, esa Sarah Yvonne. She's a fighter."
Woo!
So can you please tell us a little bit about what is endometriosis and why is this cause so important to you?
Whew, okay. Well, it gets really complicated when you're talking about the disease, but in simple terms,
Mhm.
endometriosis is a disease where tissue that is similar to the endometrium, which is the uterine lining, grows in and outside of the pelvic cavity. And it's really important that we pay attention to the word similar because it's not the
Mhm.
same. Endometriosis is often viewed as solely a menstrual disease, but it's not a menstrual disease. These lesions, these endometrial type lesions, are made up of glands and stroma that can create estrogen, and it will cause inflammation. It will cause lots of pain. And so that's where women, I guess you could say, are living with a disease that is like a systemic inflammatory disease. And think of inflammation. It inside your body, these
Yeah.
lesions growing anywhere, literally anywhere. Bowel, bladder, diaphragm, lung, heart. Like these lesions have been found and can grow in all different locations of the body, and they create this inflammatory cycle. So,
Mhm.
it's very painful. Symptoms, whew, I mean, they overlap with so many other conditions, but fatigue, um, painful sex, painful periods, bladder pain, my
Not the good
gosh,
kind of painful sex, right?
headaches. No, not the good kind. Not the kind that you went to the store to buy the things for that. Not that kind, girl. Is another kind. But yeah, no, like for reals. Like imagine like you're trying to get down and you're like, oh my God, it hurts so bad. Like
Yeah.
it hurts to the point where like there's no pleasure. Back pain, hip pain, leg pain, chest pain, collapsed lungs, like you just name it. As you start to kind of unravel the world of endo, you're like, whoa, this is just so much more than a
Mhm.
severe period. And it can just cause a cascade of symptoms that impact, the entire body system. And
Yeah.
when you've been living with this, because it takes an average of 8 to 10 years to get a diagnosis for endo,
Wow. 8 to 10
um,
years?
8 to 10 years, girl, and it impacts an
Mm.
average of 1 in 10 individuals
Wow.
assigned female at birth or
Women, I
female.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, what
yeah.
a
I mean,
disservice to
basically,
women.
yeah. So, 1 in 10, and that number has not been accurately updated. So it could in
Yeah.
fact be so much more. So you're looking at it from this lens of like, wait a second, it's super common, it's super painful, can be found any and everywhere in the body, and it takes an average of 8 to 10 years to be diagnosed.
Yeah.
What the heck? Like literally, what is going on? So it is a disease that we just don't know enough about,
Yeah.
sadly. It falls under the scope of women's health. It falls under the scope of women's gynecological health. And to be quite frank and honest, not very many people care about that.
Mm. Mhm.
So,
Well, we do here,
women
we
in
do.
pain, yeah, we do here, but women in pain, it's like, what? Just a bad period. And it's like, no, it's
Yes.
so much more than that.
And even in mainstream culture, PMS or just difficult periods, it's seen as like, "Oh, here she goes again, just being crazy during her
Yeah.
period."
Yeah, está bien dramática. Give her some chocolate. Like,
Yes.
and it's like, well, yeah, give me the chocolate too. But like,
I'll take that. El
no, but
panecito.
yeah, exactly. Like, I need my stretchy pants. But no, really, like, this is the thing. This is a disease where, like, number one thing, like, extremely painful periods are not normal.
Yeah.
Constant fatigue is not normal. Bleeding through your pants multiple times a day is not normal. Painful sex, not normal. Um,
Yeah.
and I think we normalize it too often, or we overlook it and we dismiss it. And I know for
Mhm.
myself, that was the case. And that's why this is so important to me, to start the conversation and talk to people about it, bring awareness to it, because I couldn't fathom when I got diagnosed in my 30s that I was like, hold up, let me rewind.
Mhm.
I am an educated woman. I work in schools. At the time, I worked in schools. I am well read. I'm well versed. I'm well traveled. How have I never heard of this disease?
Mhm. Yeah. 'Cause
That
it's
was
not
mind
out
boggling. It
there.
was mind
Yeah.
boggling to me. Like, this should be something that, like, we have campaigns across elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. We demand
Yeah.
so much of women in general as a culture. We absolutely need women. Why are we not talking about a disease that impacts them?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
You know what? It's crazy because I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I might be having a skewed point of view here, but it just sounds like the pain that women have to live with. Like it's normalized, you
That
know?
part.
Like for me, I remember growing up, I mean, since I got my period, it was really painful and I just thought it was normal. And everybody takes freaking Motrin, everybody takes
Mm-hmm.
Tylenol, acetaminophen. What have
I
you
said a
say that?
metafina.
But like for me, I was like, oh no, I'm just gonna drink my té de manzanilla. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
take the meds. I'm just gonna ride it out with the pain. And one of the things that really stood out to me, one of the things that you shared when you were on this journey to discover more and more information was you shared how this one woman went into cardiac arrest from the pain of endometriosis. And
Yeah.
for me personally, I mean, there were there I there was one time that I landed in the ER and the pain not from endometriosis but
One
from
time,
something else.
just one time. Oh God, just kidding,
One of
just kidding.
many. But the pain that I was experiencing in that moment was so high that they had to do an EKG on me.
Yeah.
And
Well, think
so
about it. Think about it.
yeah.
Like when you think about when you've been in the most pain, your heart rate starts just pumping. You're like in this
Yeah.
state of like, how do I calm down? This hurts so much. Like you can't focus on anything else. No, imagine having to drive a car. Imagine having to teach in a classroom
In
and you
that
get hit
pain.
with this pain. I mean, I know people who
Mm.
faint. I know I've fainted myself before and I don't faint. Like that is not. So this is where like it is just insane, how we should not have to live with that kind of pain tolerance.
Oh
We
my
should
God,
always be
period.
taken seriously when we go in and we say, I
Yes.
am in extreme pain. Well, this is where it gets really tricky, right? Because endometriosis has symptoms that overlap with so many things. It can be really hard because we, exist in a medical system that is not designed to be patient centered and patient first.
Yes.
So many of our medical providers are burnt out. And it's so easy to be like, well, this hospital didn't listen to me, or that nurse was rude, or that doctor was like, yeah, they've been on an 11-hour shift and maybe they have endometriosis.
Uh,
It's, you gotta kind of look at it from like that whole big picture of how can we provide care when even our medical like providers are not properly educated on the disease.
yeah.
There's not really like a criteria checklist. There's no specific way to diagnose it. through imaging yet. So you can see things on like an MRI or an ultrasound or a CT scan, but really like it could just be like, oh, it looks like you have a cyst. When in fact, you could have a very specific type of cyst called an endometrioma. And, it could be, or it could just be endometriosis sitting there hiding and it's showing up on imaging. I mean, it's just, there's no clear-cut testing or way to diagnose it. So
Yeah.
that just furthers the delay in care. Because you go into the ER, they're like, this girl again, she needs
Yes.
pain meds. And you're like, I can't function. And it's just, there's so many different barriers and obstacles to getting diagnosed, getting the information to say, I think I have this. Because how
Yes.
can you advocate for yourself for care when you
Right.
have no clue what you have?
And the technology's not there to help.
The technology, the research,
Yeah.
we don't even know what causes this disease. We have no idea.
Mhm.
So, women are just getting their pain dismissed. We are not talking that, to our niñas, our little chamacas, we're not telling them like, hey, mija, guess what? If you have a really painful cycle, that's not normal.
Well, girl,
Instead,
sometimes we don't even talk about periods. I mean, I'm like, one
exactly.
generation back, all you got was a pad thrown at you, and you were like, handle.
Yeah, no,
Ah!
seriously. And you're like, where do I put it? Like tampons, like where do you put those?
Oh,
Like,
you were not supposed to wear tampons, let me
oh,
tell
because then you
you.
were sucia, okay? Don't be a cochina.
Nasty girl.
I was like, give me one. Is this what it feels like? No, I'm just kidding.
Super, give me a super.
I always needed the super, bitch. I always needed a super extra
Do
absorbent.
we have an extra super up in here?
Who's an absorbent ass bitch over here? Me. Cochina, you
Not
better stop
dripping,
it
I
right
don't
now.
know. Oh my
No,
God.
but it's a flag. Like, like I remember leading up to getting my diagnosis, like when I knew my cycle was gonna happen, like I had all these weird symptoms because also endometriosis unfortunately can also be silent.
Mhm.
There are many people who may not have like the straightforward typical symptoms that other people have, like the pain with sex or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have like very straightforward symptoms, but also like, pues, I'm a fucking loca. So it was like,
You can't silence a Sag.
it's a Sag thing, maybe. I don't know. I just always grinded, right? Like there were little things that would happen. Fatigue was probably my biggest one. But I remember having to always pack. Like I was like, okay, I can only wear black pants for the rest of the fucking week. And I need to have like 10 pairs of them because every single day I need to be having like two pairs. Two pairs. It didn't
Yeah.
matter if I was super plus extra absorbent, tampon plus a fucking pad. I had to be in there changing hourly,
Yeah.
and even then some. That's not normal. And
Yeah.
I thought I was just like, well, dang, I guess my body's just changing because I'm old. Because there's also this really outdated theory. I don't even know if we would call it a theory. There's this really outdated information. We'll call it information where if you get pregnant, it will cure your endo.
You know what? I've heard that, girl. I've
Okay.
heard that because I
It's like,
remember
oh,
when my
period, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And
yeah.
girl, like I've always wanted children. And part of it was for that. Like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
plus, but also my period to be less painful. But
I
that
will
was
have
kind
one.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
that was kind of like I don't know if it's an old wives' tale, but it's this idea that once you have your first baby, that it switches. And
Yeah.
that whereas you used to have painful periods, once you pop one out, it's
It'll be
better.
better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really dangerous to think that. It's also very dangerous to think of endometriosis as solely being a womb or uterus disease because it's a whole body
Mm-hmm.
disease. Because the truth is, if you stop the periods, okay, maybe that'll help stop some of the hormones, and that
Like a
could,
hysterectomy?
well, I'll get to that in a minute. But yes,
Oh,
if you stop like the period, you stop the hormones, you stop that,
got it.
right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then well, it's she's no longer gonna have a cycle. She won't be bleeding. She won't be in pain. However, if the lesions, remember, these lesions can create their own estrogen and they can grow anywhere. So if you take my uterus out, but I have it still on the bladder, or I have it still on the bowel, or I have it in my lung or
Uh-huh.
my diaphragm, the disease is still there. And
Sarah,
it's still going to respond to
the
hormonal changes in your body.
when you say lesions, do you mean like tissue growth?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
that same tissue. So
It's not the
if I'm
same. It's similar.
oh,
It's similar, but it's different. Similar to
uh-huh.
the endometrium, similar to the lining we shed every month, but not the
Mhm.
same
And it can grow anywhere in the body.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
So
So that's why this suppression of
mhm.
like if birth control will be usually like a first line of
Mm.
management offered to patients, and it's just a band-aid. You might feel better,
Yeah.
but it's kind of just managing maybe your symptoms for a while, but the disease is still there. And that's where it's super dangerous, because people will say like, well, you need to do a womb healing, you need to do this, you need to, and I'm like, those can all be things that can help. But really, if I have it in my diaphragm and on my phrenic
Mhm.
nerve, is that gonna help? Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna really make a difference, So we have to kind of educate and stray away from some of that. And that's why pregnancy is just, it's not a cure. There's no cure. Period. Facts. There is no cure for this disease.
Mhm.
Your best treatment option is to have it expertly excised or cut out at the roots by a surgeon who has lots and lots of experience doing these minimally invasive gynecologic surgeries. Minimally invasive gynecologic surgeries. Boom.
Yeah.
Um, because just, I mean, to give you perspective, would you want a surgeon who's, an OB-GYN, but is delivering babies and doing pap smears, going in to unravel endometriosis from your bladder and your fallopian tubes and the top of your diaphragm or the bottom of your diaphragm and your
Yeah.
appendix? You want someone who's doing just that every week.
Yeah.
This is why it's important you put yourself in the hands of a true specialist.
Sarah, for those listeners who might possibly not have a diagnosis, but that might be experiencing some of the symptoms, first, what would you advise for folks to pay attention to? And then if they think that this might be something that they're dealing with, what would be like the first steps? What would you advise somebody to do?
I would say the first step I advise someone to do is to create a journal, right? Just a journal of what are your symptoms? Because unfortunately, you're going to have to kind of prove to a provider that you need to be taken seriously, because a lot of it's getting better because more people are speaking out, but a lot of people might be like, pues, un poquito gorda, like you need to go on a diet. Mija, are you
Mhm.
depressed? Like, are you, and you're just like, no, I'm in pain. Like, I don't need to lose 20 pounds. I mean, I could, but like, that's not what this is. So you
Yeah.
need to kind of build a case for yourself so you can be taken seriously.
Isn't
Number
that
one.
something?
It's the truth. It's the
Mhm.
truth. It's the truth. If you are of an age where you're considering starting a family and you have a history of painful periods and you suspect that you might have endometriosis, I highly encourage you to get evaluated, to track your symptoms, track your pain, um, track where it hurts, how it hurts. So what does your pain feel like? Where are you feeling pain? How often are you feeling pain? Do you have fatigue? Are you having pain with sex? That type of information. Does it flare up or get worse around the time of your cycle?
Mhm.
Um, and like I said, if you want to start family planning, I usually advise people, like, if you suspect you have endo, go see someone before you start trying to really have a family, because there's a chance if you have endo, one of those tubes can be blocked, or, if you've had repeated miscarriages, like that can be a red flag for things. And I specifically talk about this because in my case, I got diagnosed because I had such severe disease that I had no
Mhm.
clue. And I had an ectopic pregnancy because my right fallopian tube was just completely covered, wrapped in endo. And, the fetus got stuck in the tube. And that
Wow.
was a horrible experience. And like, had I known ahead of time, oh, all those little symptoms and things, those other miscarriages. I mean, there's lots of reasons for miscarriages, but, listen to your body.
Mm.
And when you go to a provider, say, I think, this is where the education portion comes in. I suspect I have endometriosis. Can I order some imaging? Can I get a referral to see an endometriosis specialist, or what we would call like a MIGS surgeon specialist, which MIGS is for like a minimally invasive gynecological surgeon, right? Um,
Mhm.
Go see someone who routinely works with patients who have endometriosis. It's hard to find them, but I encourage everyone to kind of do their research, reach out into communities. You know, there's lots of different online forums and communities and people who can connect you, with resources, because you're going to have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And insurance companies might not want to help you pay for services. They might be like, no, first line of treatment is birth control. But again, birth control is just a band-aid. It's an option, but it's a band-aid. You know, hormonal suppression and medications that will put you into like a medical menopause, like Orlissa or Lupron, also band-aid, because the
Mhm.
disease is still there in the body. So when you come off those medications, you still have the disease there. And then what? So
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that 1 in 10 women experience this.
Yeah. Isn't it wild?
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to bring up is you and I surfed together for a good minute, and I would have never guessed that you were experiencing this level of pain because you would be out there, you would be like echándole ganas, you'd be all surfing, like, just like ripping.
Oh yeah, ripping my fucking wetsuit open with my big ass, but no, I don't know about ripping on waves, but
You gonna rip it on
yeah.
it. No, I mean, I would be like, "Damn, look at that girl go," but I would have never known, and it wasn't until later on that you were sharing that your symptoms got so severe that it was hard to breathe, and
Yeah.
even still, you were still out there braving the waves, ripping, shredding.
Hey, shredding the gnar.
But how were you able to even do that?
Oof. Okay. Well, to shed a little light on the breathing part. So I have what's called thoracic endometriosis. So it was found on like my diaphragm. There were like literally holes in my diaphragm. So that's where it's impacted my breathing. And it was so severe that it has left me with like a permanent diaphragm injury and paralysis.
Mm.
So I still to this day struggle with the breathing and the high, shred the gnar activities. It gets tough, but I think this cycles kind of back to the resilience factor, right? Like I I I was sick for so long and I did so many things for so long, that I would always just push to show up for myself,
Mhm.
to show up for work, to get my education, to show up for my family. You push, right? And you just learn how to like put the pain out. We do that. Suffering is just
Yeah.
kind of part of our narrative and we accept it, right? which is a beautiful thing because it makes us those strong, like guerreras, who are fucking out there and outspoken and strong. But at the same time, I think really, if I reflect, I think it's a lot of it comes from, yes, that desire to be resilient for myself and the things that make me happy. Because if I'm gonna be resilient to show up for my family and my job, I better be resilient to show up for myself, right? And the things that bring me pleasure. Um, Chasing happiness is valuable, and I'm not gonna live a life where I'm not doing that. Like if I'm gutting it out and showing up for work, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go show up for surfing too. I'm gonna go show up for dance hall dancing on the beach.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but I think there's another really important part when you're a chronically ill person that shifted was I also did it because I was chasing I don't know if this is a real fucking word, but you'll get it. But the aliveness, feeling alive. It wasn't always about being happy because shit, getting smacked in a board and not being able to breathe or being like, I know I could be so much better and faster and catch this wave and paddle into this, or I could dance harder. It would be so frustrating to be in a body that wouldn't let me do what I wanted the way I know I can. But I didn't care because it wasn't about being happy in that moment. It was about feeling the aliveness and celebrating that. Because when you have a body that has endured so much and feels broken so many times, you just want to feel alive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like that connection part where it's like you got to tap in to the deepest parts of yourself. And I try to find a lot of strength from just like my history, my story, who I am, and what is the legacy I want to leave behind for myself. And when people think of me, I want them to think like, oh yeah, like I don't want them to think like, oh, that's the endo girl. Like, yeah, okay, yeah. But like she was how was she out there ripping it? Because I just was. There's more to it. So
Yeah. I talk about the the evolution of the human spirit. And I can't think of something that embodies that so well as what you just said about feeling alive. And I
yeah.
think it's out there in mainstream culture, like, oh, I'm spirit having a human experience.
Oh, oh wait, look at my crown that's like got a jewel. Mira, this jewel connects me to the fucking. Oh, look at my Burning Man outfit. Like I was get the
Exactly.
fuck out here. I was like, look, I'm like, do not like get your fucking sage you ordered on Amazon away from me. I'm being a hater right now, but
but like it's just the fact of just like milking everything out of life.
mhm,
And
yeah,
I gotta say, as a fellow Sagittarius, that is something that's characteristic of us
it
because it's like
is.
it's trying to live every moment to the fullest.
Yeah,
It's being curious. It's like
adventure.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and being fully present. Well, I guess it's not all the time, but like
Well,
you know,
hold on. We be present, but we be like, not that part. Not that. I know, but I'm not gonna acknowledge that one. But
exactly,
we know
exactly.
everything. We know everything. We're always living it, but we're like, no.
Yeah, but it just to me is just a testament to that. And it's just wanting to live, wanting to experience all of these different aspects of life that are fun, that are
Mhm.
enjoyable, that are challenging, that will test you.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
Um,
it's really just important that like, and this is why it's like knowledge, early education, early intervention. If you do suspect you have this, that's gonna change your outcome. That's gonna help you
mhm.
get what you need sooner. And I think that you can't always change what's going to happen. For me, I can't change my circumstances. I can't change what happened, but how can I turn the pain that I've suffered into some sort of power, into some sort of purpose, right? Because
Transmuting
that,
it.
yeah, it's me. It's like, well, let me take this really awful thing and everything I learned, like, can I just give it to someone else? Like
Yeah.
ancestrally, like we come from generations of people, indigenous people who have taken lessons and traditions and spiritual as well as physical plant medicine and all these beautiful things that have been passed down. Well, here's my beautiful thing, and how can I pass it along to someone else? And that's where,
Mhm.
like, to tie into, as a woman that is the eldest of you know lots of primas on my mom's side, an older sister, a stepsister. um I am now, a guardian of two teenage boys, and I talk to them openly about my disease, the importance of educating. I'm like, you're gonna have women in your life, whether they're friends, whether they're romantic partners, co-workers, colleagues. Like, I want you to be nurturing, to be supportive, and to, see the need. And maybe this will spark a profession for you, but it's really important that you take, for me, that I take this experience and turn it into some sort of knowledge that I can share with everyone, not just other women, but with everyone. And with the other older women in my family, sometimes me talking about the vulnerable things that normally would have stigmas,
Mhm.
miscarriages, not being able to have children of my own.
Yeah.
Well, why did you wait so long? I'm like, bitch, because I needed to go to school and get a job. Like, I need to make money. Like, the shit takes a long time. Um, but yeah, like, all those things. And then you start to hear them talk about, oh, well, you know what? I had really painful periods too, or, I had this
Mhm.
happen to me too, or you had, my tia so and so, like, she never had kids. And then you're like, oh my gosh, listen to this medical history.
Yes.
If I would have known that, if we would have made it open to talk about
Yes.
that,
If it hadn't been
maybe
so taboo.
if it hadn't been so taboo, maybe younger Sarah would have been like, red flag. My mom had that. My grandma had that.
Yeah.
Let me go ask. Let me go push a little more instead of being like, oh, I guess I'm just getting old and like my crusty ass like body is like, like
Oh my
me-
god.
messing up over here. Like, I'm tired all the time. I'm bleeding through my pants all the time. I'm in pain here. Like, I have
Yeah.
chorro up that. Like, like, what is it? What is it? What?
I
Like, I
thought
know it
that
sounds
was
that's what you see. Like, shoot, I shouldn't have had those tacos last night. Like, dang. No, girl. Like,
normal.
I mean, yeah. So I think that's the goal. That's the
All
goal.
right. Well, Sarah, I know you have things to do, so we're gonna wrap it up. But before we go, maybe I know you mentioned that you were a stepdaughter. And so far in La Madrastra podcast, we have had some experience from stepmoms, but we haven't heard from stepdaughters yet. And so, would you leave us with some words of advice for current stepmoms from that stepdaughter perspective?
Oof, that's a really hard one. I think for me, having two women in my life, one being my mother, the other being my stepmother, um, who both cared for me in different ways, right? Um, I lived and grew up primarily with my mother, but my stepmom, she's been in my life since I was in high school or middle school. I think stepmoms, you guys have a huge influence, whether you realize it or not. And how you interact with us, I know sometimes it feels like you don't want to cross boundaries,
Mm,
but I think my advice would be push the boundaries a little, respect, but also like when you're a stepdaughter, you don't know how you're supposed to act, but you just go by cómo te sientes en su corazón. Like, what are you feeling? Where you're like, well, I want to get to know this person because she seems to care
Yeah.
and she's kind, and I want to open up, but am I going to hurt my mom when I open up? Like, am I being,
Yeah.
like, and then you get your shames. Well, I had a good time. Am I allowed to have a good time? Like, well, I like talking to her, and maybe I want to talk to her about this more than I want to talk to my own mom about this. And that's what I mean when I say, like, to all the stepmoms out there, like, pay attention, but also, like, don't pull away, because
Mm.
allow us the time to open up, but keep putting like the nutrients into building that relationship. Like, the flower is only going to bloom and blossom when it's being fed. And the
Yeah.
beautiful thing is now there's two people tending to this human flower, this beautiful person, this daughter that you get the opportunity to be a person and a role model in their lives. So continue to water and pour into that, because I think when we take away the stigma and the fear of being like, oh my gosh, I'm disrespecting my own mom, it's like
Yeah.
you're empowering young women to be like, I can be open and accepting of all forms of love and female leadership, right? And that's important.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I think that's amazing insight, not just about stepmotherhood, because sometimes that is a little scary to open your heart, to not know where you stand. And it can be a two-way kind of feeling, but thank you so much for that, for everything that you shared on endometriosis. I think that's a conversation that needs to continue, quite
Hmm.
frankly. And I think the very fact that the research is not out there, that the info isn't out there, and that so many women are experiencing it, for us, we're lucky that we're able to have your expertise with us today. Sarah, tell us real quick, where can people find you? I will be adding this into the episode description, but tell us, like, if people want more info about endo, where could they find it?
You can reach me at Latinas Con Endo on Instagram. That would probably be the quickest. I also have another Instagram handle that I'll send over to Rosie, but it's sicker underscore dot then underscore dot your average on Instagram. I have a website, and I'm always open to talking to people. We host monthly meetings virtually, some in person, where we gather, and anybody who's curious, suspects they have endo, wants to learn more, is always welcome to come and join us.
Can I just show some love for that handle with some Notorious B.I.G. references up in here? But
Oh,
but thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you,
you're
thank you,
so
thank you.
welcome. It was an honor. Thank you for everything. Love you.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.